Welcome to The Next Chapter, a show about how to move your life forward and what comes next. I'm your host, Carey Pena, co-founder of the Center for Positive Media. Hi, I'm Carey Pena, and this is The Next Chapter. Joining us in studio today, Tammy Fellows, former magazine owner and publisher who has made a major life transition. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Carey. I'm honored to be here.
I have been intrigued by this move that you made because you were pretty high profile in the Phoenix area, in the magazine business, and all of a sudden, well, maybe to us, it was all of a sudden. To you, it probably wasn't all of a sudden. You were like, I'm selling these magazines and I'm taking a different direction.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
True. So in a nutshell, it was quick for me too, to be fair. I mean, it took longer and it was sprouted in my mind before anybody else knew that. However, I will say it was time for a shift and I just really embraced it. And I knew that I was ready to step into something that I was meant to step into, which was different than the magazines. So it was a wonderful transition. I'm elated to be where I'm at today.
And I can't wait to delve into this because you're really going all in on purpose-driven life.
Yes.
And it's super cool. But I just want to talk a little bit about sort of calculating that kind of move. You have children, a husband, a family. There's a lot of considerations to uproot what you're doing and totally change course. Mm-hmm. Were you afraid? Talk about kind of what went through your mind.
So to be honest, of course, any change can be shaky and make you nervous. The thing that I knew wholeheartedly was that I was not in my full purpose. And that's where you say, I'm ready to be in purpose, meaningful work that feeds my soul. And that's when you make a shift. Yes, is it scary? Was it a huge transition for my family? I have 4 kids, one in college, one's about to graduate. And I was making really, really great money. So you're used to a certain lifestyle, you're used to a certain way of living, but I'm so strong in my faith. And that's why this was such a huge piece of that was my faith and trusting what I really came here to do. So for me, when you really consider why you're doing what you're doing and it's really fueling you and it's helping pour love back into yourself that then creates a better place for everyone else, it's a win.
Did you feel something sort of inside you that was growing that you weren't being fulfilled? Or, talk about identifying the feelings when you were kind of knowing that you were going to make a change.
Well, I woke up is what happened. I started a really deep personal spiritual journey that catapulted me into a whole new mindset, a whole new place of living, and understanding what purpose really is. And so for me, it started with something simple like meditation, which then turned into prayer and work on my soul and my purpose and meaning to life and really my joy. I wanted to seek and find my joy. And it's funny because as I've made this transition and this shift, I've never been more happy and fulfilled in my life. Mm. It's been really, really powerful. So for me, it was a wake up. It was truly a wake up to my soul.
You obviously have a husband who's very supportive. I've met him. He's really so cool.
He's amazing.
But he had to be also willing to go along in this journey because for you as a household, you were giving up a certain amount of income. Mm-hmm. And also, I think it's interesting because you had to set ego aside because you had a position where you owned magazines. A lot of people, would want to get to know you and you had power. Mm-hmm. And with that can come some ego. Mm-hmm. So you had to consciously be willing to set that aside.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that you say the word ego because for me, ego is we have our who we are in the inside, and then we have our ego, which is our human aspect in this life. And for me, they live together. But when you can set aside what you think is your power in that format, as far as your ego goes, actually, that's not where your power lives at all.
That's right. At
all. So when you can see the difference, the transition is different. And I will say this, speaking to my husband, because I remember when this started to flood in and I knew a change was coming. And I had to sit down with him and say, I can't keep this in anymore. This is happening. I am changing. I'm evolving. I'm growing. Something is changing in me. And this is going to create a shift in our life. And his words, I will never forget it because it was upsetting. And I had to really own this. And I had to share this with him. And when I finally did, he said, there you are. I knew you'd show up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was powerful. Then I realized, okay, we're in this together. Like he gets it. He knows me.
That is really powerful because had he said, oh gosh, are you having a midlife crisis? Or what is my wife is losing it? Are you sure? Any of those things could have, planted that seed of doubt. Remember when I made the decision to leave my job as one of the main anchors and, the difference in how some folks reacted, some people were like, what are you doing? You're at the very top. Why would you leave that job? And I loved the job. I loved the station. Everything was great, but I felt like I had checked all the boxes there. And I had this bigger vision of creating these production studios and doing more intentional content. And I had to set also my ego aside because I was well known on TV and all of these things. So I relate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
it's huge.
When you have someone react how your husband did, it's like, okay, yes, here I go. So tell us what you are doing now. I know you're writing a book. You've created a podcast. Talk about that.
So in my shift, I will say, I started to realize, and again, this is by listening. And just like you, Carey, when you really pay attention and listen to what's already inside of you and you allow it to come out and your ego is not part of that, it changes how you see everything. So as you step more into that style of living, it makes it so things actually happen easily for you. Your fears sort of melt away because you're no longer doing anything because of your ego. And trust me, that was a big thing I had to understand. Huge. Like you said, you have this profile and you say, oh my gosh, it doesn't even matter anymore. So as I started to transition and shift, it really became, what happened was I said, it's time to start a movement. So I saw this as, and it started small, and this is when I still had the magazines. I thought, I am not happy. I am not serving myself in any way. I have a busy life. I have a big career and a family, and there's nothing left for me. So one day I said, I've got to carve out some time for me. And so I created a day for myself, which was funny because as I built it, it was just for me. It was very private and personal. And I thought, well, Tuesdays are the one day of the week that honestly I could carve out some time for me. And so I started to do it, and all of a sudden, download Tammy Tuesday. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's so cute. It's got a little jingle for me. And this was just for me. This was truly just for me. And I would tell my friends and my family only because I wanted them to hold me accountable. Said, I'm taking Tuesdays now, they're mine. So what ended up happening was, of course, my husband being the supporter he is, he bought the domain Tammy Tuesday, and I laughed.
I love your husband, man.
Eric's amazing.
He's a rock star.
He's amazing. He's my biggest support. But he said, no, something's going to happen with this. And I said, you're being silly. That's cute. I appreciate the gesture, but whatever. Well, little did I know that it was becoming something, because when I was sharing this with the people that I loved in my life, and I said, I have this day, it's called Tammy Tuesday, and it's a movement. And what's this movement of, Tammy? It's a movement of refilling myself back up and pouring love back into myself, because I am serving no one as an empty shell. So I realized that I had to do that. So that's how Tammy Tuesday was born. And it was just a day for myself, which then turned into, it's a movement. And it has nothing to do with my name or the day of the week. It has to do with people remembering to pour love into themselves. So then their love is so big that it overflows onto everyone and everything else.
When you interview people, what is the premise of your interviews? What's your podcast look like?
It has many elements. The biggest question that we answer on that podcast is, why are we here? What is our purpose? Why are we here? What's our mission? What's our God-given mission? What are our God-given gifts? How do we step into that? And I'm telling you, it starts with getting quiet, pouring back into yourself, and hearing what it is. And it will come to you. The more you step into it, it just shows up.
I think this is fundamentally important, this topic, because as so many people, I think the best that I can sort of surmise, but coming out of COVID, it amplified this mental health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will ask me, like, do you really live like this happy of a life? Like, because I'm a very positive person.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say, like, I do love life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is because I live with purpose,
mm-hmm.
and I try as hard as I can. I mean, obviously every day is not perfect, but I really try each day to do things that step outside of me. You know, how can I serve other people? How is this content that we are creating, us as a team? I have amazing people around me. How is this serving a greater good?
Right.
That really does something for me. That keeps
yeah.
me focused. And I think when you step out, again, you're not living in ego,
mm-hmm.
right? It's bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the premise.
Yeah.
So tell me about your life, what this has done for you. You seem very calm. Well, you always have been calm. You're not like a real spastic person.
Right.
But you have like a real grounded sense about you. So since you started the meditation, really focusing on this, doubling down on living your life with purpose, going on the Tammy Tuesday journey, what has this done for you?
It's been life-changing. It's once you know something, you can't unknow it. And for me, that's the biggest shift. It's been, oh my gosh, this is how this works. And like you said, what I started to realize, because I used to think it was selfish to pour back into myself. And what I learned was actually it's the complete opposite, because what it does is connects you to everyone. It makes you remember what we are here to do, which is to love. I am all about love. We are all about love. That is why we came here, is to love and to receive love. And so if you're not giving it back to yourself, which is your direct connection in your faith, whatever that looks like for you, you're missing that mark, which is to be here to help and serve and love others. And it changes your life. My son came home for the holidays from college, and I had finally sold my second magazine off, and I was officially out of the business, and I was stepping into this movement. And he said, "Mom, oh my gosh, you are different. Like your light is on. I can see it. You're shining." And like you said, the groundedness, sure, you can fake it till you make it, but this is a whole other way of living. I do feel very grounded. I feel happy and fulfilled and purposeful. It's a totally different understanding of why I'm alive.
And for you, and I think this is important because a lot of times it is hard to calculate those decisions if your finances are going to take a hit. Mm-hmm. So not to say that what you're doing won't be financially beneficial and grow, and you might, make this book and it might become a series. So who knows what that could become.
Sure.
But for now, it feels okay to have given up that part of it.
It's funny. Once you step into your soul work, those things don't matter as much. They just don't. You see them differently. Have I sacrificed? Have I given some things up? Yes, but I don't even notice it, Carey, because I'm fulfilled and I'm truly, truly, genuinely happy. So material, ego, it just means something different.
What is the takeaway message as people listen to this? And I'm sure that there's so much inspiration people can draw from your story. First, by you recognizing that you needed to make a change in life. Mm-hmm. And that's mindfulness at work, right? Like that is, I'm in the present moment, I'm paying attention, right, and I'm not just walking through my days like a robot. Mm-hmm. What do you think people can take away from your story?
The biggest takeaway for anybody, and the mission I'm on to help anybody out there, is to remember to love yourself and respect yourself, because the second you do that, it opens up everything. It's the key to surrendering to this is the key to your happiness and your joy and your purpose. It moves mountains. It creates a whole nother way of living. It's peace.
I just wish you the best of luck, because I think that bringing this message to more people, it breaks my heart when I see people who don't have that joy in their hearts. Mm-hmm. It really makes me so sad. Mm-hmm, so bringing that message out to other people and just helping more people tap into that is so important. Where can people follow along with you? Because your husband bought the domain, so we know he's got it on lock.
Right. Well, I do. I've had the domain for a while, but I actually have a website, and this is building. So this is new. I'm in creation mode. So TammyTuesday.com, you can find lots of resources and information. I have a blog that I post every week. My podcast can be found there as well. I also have a following on Instagram at Tammy Tuesday Life. We're also on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel where all of our podcasts are so you can watch them as well. So that's the best way to engage with me. I do respond to messages that I receive. It is me, it's no one else. So if you're interested in engaging and wanting to know more, I'm happy to hear from you, and I'm happy to help.
You know what? I write back to everyone too. And sometimes people, they don't believe it. They're like, you're really write back to all those people? I'm like, yes, I do.
Right.
Because if someone's going to take time to reach out to me, it's important. Now, I might have 17,777 emails in my inbox.
That's a lot of sevens.
I looked at it just this morning, so I know the number. But I will answer those DMs.
Yes.
Tammy, thank you so much.
Carey,
I really
thank
appreciate you. And I just wish you the very best of luck. I'll come on your podcast.
I hope you do.
sometime
You are on my list, and you beat me to the punch. So you're next, girl.
And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. I'm Carey Pena. Take good care.